National Director of Recruiting for 247Sports.com, also an insider there on FS1's college basketball coverage. That's the great Evan Daniels. Evan, welcome to Southern Fried Sports, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, Evan. I think Nate Oates is doing pretty good, right? Gets a little bit of bad news, although I don't think it was all that unexpected at that point that Tevin Mack was going to indeed transfer and spend his grad transfer time somewhere else. But backfilled pretty nicely, I guess, with Jahvon Quinerly joining the Crimson Tide. Just your thoughts on Quinerly and what he brings to this Alabama roster.
Yeah, this was a guy that they targeted really as soon as they got the job at Alabama. Assistant Brian Hodgkinson went down and met with his family that first week that they were on the job. And this was a guy they wanted, a guy they pursued very hard. And look, this is a kid coming out of high school that was very highly thought of. He was a 5-star prospect. He was known for his versatility in terms of being a point guard that could not only distribute and create, but also score. Obviously, he didn't have the type of freshman season that he had hoped for at Villanova, and it opted to look elsewhere. And, from my conversation with him, he really thought the fit at Alabama was good for him in terms of how he plays and how he meshes with the coaching staff.
Yeah, and reading your report there on 247Sports.com, essentially breaking this news in which you had a conversation with Jahvon Quinerly. What's his status in terms of eligibility? I know that, as you outlined, spent just one season at Villanova, so in most instances that would involve a transfer year sitting out and then being eligible for 3 more years. But does he have sort of an alternative route that he's trying to take in this situation, Evan?
Well, Alabama is going to apply for a waiver to get him eligible immediately, and my guess is this waiver would really have to do with the FBI investigation that went on and his name getting dragged through it. Ultimately, wasn't found of wrongdoing, but I would imagine that would be that will factor in here in terms of what they're applying for and basically it having effect on his freshman season. Now, if the waiver does not come through, then Jahvon will have to sit out a year, and then he'll have 3 years of eligibility, just like a normal transfer.
Evan, wanted to get your thoughts on Nate Oates, and I guess in sort of connection with adding guys like Quinerly and Beetle Bolden as a grad transfer from West Virginia, and their style of play and how it sort of is an indication, a tip of what Alabama fans can expect from a Nate Oates coach team in terms of tempo and playing 94 feet and putting the ball in the basket at a high rate. Is this the Nate Oates that Alabama fans are about to get to know pretty well, you think?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, this is a guy that wants to play fast, and he's had some really good guards at Buffalo. And I think that he's obviously recruiting to his system and thinks that Jahvon Quinerly and Beetle Bolden are good fits for how he wants to play in terms of the tempo and the skill level and just the offensive firepower that he had at Buffalo is something that he wants to replicate at Alabama, just with players I mean, they're going to have an opportunity to recruit a higher caliber player than they did at Buffalo. Don't get me wrong, they had some really good players and developed some really good players at Buffalo. But when you're at Alabama in the SEC, you can recruit a higher caliber player, and he wants to play the same way that he did at Buffalo, and hopefully get players that fit that system.
Evan, you've been on the circuit, so you've seen guys like John Petty, you've seen Herbert Jones, some of these players, Alex Reese, some of these players, Kyra Lewis, obviously, that Nate Oates is inheriting. How well do you see those guys sort of fitting in, specifically the backcourt, with what Nate Oates likes to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think he fit in perfectly. Like I said, offensively, he's known for playing fast and having skilled guys that can really score the basketball. And I think all those guys can fit that mold and fit into what he's looking for.
Wanted to get off topic a little bit with you, Evan, and talk about the University of Memphis under Penny Hardaway, this late period that the Tigers have enjoyed of late. just kind of put into perspective, what he's been able to do along with Mike Miller. We understand that staff in general in this late period, and kind of where that takes that program just up I-22 from us from just a year ago to potentially a top 10 team, maybe even a Final Four contender in the upcoming season.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's had a better spring than Memphis in terms of what they've been able to accomplish on the recruiting trail. Penny Hardaway obviously deserves a lot of credit, but so does Memphis assistant Mike Miller. He was the point man on getting Precious Achua. He was the lead guy on getting Lester Quinones and Boogie Ellis. But they've done a good job of really putting together a strong recruiting class, and the nation's number one recruiting class. So it's pretty impressive to watch. I think we all knew that they would get local kids and would have a really strong opportunity because of their local connections with Penny and Tony Madlock. But I think where it's been most impressive is to see what they've been able to accomplish outside of Memphis and going out and getting national top-tier level recruits. And Penny Hardaway and Memphis has turned into arguably the biggest story in all of college basketball. And that's a testament to Penny himself, his staff, and what they've been able to accomplish.
As we wrap up with Evan Daniels here on Southern Fried Sports presented by Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa, the SEC, an early look ahead. I know it's very early, but the last couple of years we've seen the SEC very prominent in NCAA tournament fields. A lot of talent leaving the league. Evan, what's a reasonable expectation maybe in terms of number of teams in NCAA tournament play for next March?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll be honest, I haven't fully dove in to prep for next season yet. I think that the SEC is while they're going to lose some talent, they're certainly reloading at some of those schools. Obviously, I don't expect Tennessee to be as good as they were last year, but I think with the additions that Kentucky has and who they have coming back, that they're going to be very strong. I would expect Auburn to be very strong. I think there's still a lot to hash out. There's still a lot of roster movement. There's a lot of transfers still available, and there's still some things to come into play. But I would imagine the SEC will be fairly strong, just as it was last year. Maybe not quite as good, but it should be strong.
There you go, Evan Daniels. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on this Monday, my friend. Hope to talk to you again real soon.